Okay, welcome back to another video on Maths channel. It's your teacher, Mr. Lim here, and in this video we're going to be looking at ordering positive and negative fractions. So by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to compare fractions using symbols and order them in ascending and descending order. So let's have a look at the first part. Comparing fractions using these symbols less than and greater than. Now it's important for you to remember that the arrow is always pointing at the smaller number or fraction. Okay, and also remember on the number line, the smaller number or fraction is always on the left of the other number, okay, or fraction. So because the arrow is always pointing at the smaller number or fraction, the arrow is pointing at the smaller, that means this one has to be the bigger one. Okay, that means that the left number is bigger than the right number, okay, or greater than. Okay, because this is the left number, this is the right. Left of the arrow, right of the arrow. Since the arrow is pointing at the smaller one, I'm going to write smaller here. This one has to be bigger. That means that the left number is smaller than the right number. Okay. Now, sometimes, actually, most of the time we call this less than. And for this one here, we usually call it greater than. Alright, so when comparing fractions, every fraction must have the same denominator. If they don't, then we need to create equivalent fractions so that they do have the same denominator. We can do this by finding the lowest common multiple of the denominators, but this is also known as finding the LCD, or lowest common denominator. So if there are mixed numerals, convert them to improper fractions first, and then we can compare. So true or false? Alright, let's have a look at these examples. We've got 3/4 is greater than 4/5, true or false? Now, they don't have the same denominator. Okay, the denominators are different. So what we need to do is we need to make them have the same denominator. What's the lowest common multiple of 4 and 5? Well, 4 times 5 is 20, divided by 1, because that's the highest common factor. Still going to be 20. So how do we get 20 from 4? We times it by 5. So we times this by 5 as well to give us 15. How do we get 5 to become 20? We times it by 4. So we times this by 4 as well to give us 16. So now we can see they both have the same denominator of 20, and we only really need to compare the numerators. Is 15 greater than 16? Is the arrow pointing at the smaller number? No, it's not. So this is false. Alright. Let's do one more. I'll do question D. Okay, and then you can have go B, C, E, and F. So question D, we've got -5/6 is less than -3/4. We can see here that they do not have the same denominator. So we need them to be the same so we can compare them easily. So what is the lowest common denominator going to be? Well, 6 times 4 is 24. But if we divide them by 2, because that's the highest common factor, technically it's 12. So we're going to put them over 12. How do we turn this 6 into 12? Well, we times it by 2. So we need to times the top by 2 as well. Now this minus sign, we always make it belong to the top. So -5 times 2 is actually -10. How do we turn this 4 into 12? Times it by 3. So we times this by 3 as well. But remember, that minus sign belongs to that 3. So it's minus 3 times 3, which is minus 9. So now we can compare the numerators, because the denominators are the same. Is minus 10 less than minus 9? Is the arrow pointing at the smaller number? Yes, it is. So this is true. Okay? Pause the video and have a go with B, C, E, and F. Alright, so let's have a look at these answers. Question B, we can see that the lowest common denominator will be 7 times 3, which is 21. So we times this by 3, we times that by 3 to give us 9. Times that by 7, times that by 7 to give us 7. Is the arrow pointing at the smaller number? No, that's false. Question C. The lowest common denominator will be 9 times 19, which here I've already calculated for you, is 171. So, if we times this by 19, we times this by 19 to give us 38. If we times this by 9 to get the 171, we times this by 9 to give us 45. Is the arrow pointing at a smaller number? No, it's not. It's false. Okay, 45 is bigger than 38. Question E. Lowest common denominator of 7 and 8 is 56. We times that by 8 to give me 56. We times that by 8 to give us negative 72. If we times this by 7 to get the 56, we times this by 7 to give us negative 70. Is the arrow pointing at the smaller number? No, it's not. This is false. Okay, so remember, on the number line, is 0. Negative 70s are all the way over here, but negative 72 is to the left of that. So technically, negative 72 is less than negative 70. Okay, so the arrow should be pointing at the negative 72. For question F, because we have a mixed number, we need to convert it first into an improper fraction. So we're going to ignore that minus sign. We're just going to use our triangle method that I taught you in a previous video. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 13 over 5. So it's minus 13 over 5. Less than minus 14 over 9. Now, we can still see that they don't have the same denominator. So, if we times this by 9 to get 45, we times this by 9. Now, minus 13 times 9, we can use our calculator. Is minus 117. Times this by 5, times this by 5, minus 14 times 5 is minus 70. Is the arrow pointing at a smaller number? Yes, it is, so this is true. Okay, on the number line, minus 70 is over here, minus 117 is down here. So minus 117 is less than minus 70. Now, there's an easier way to do this. Okay, so rather than just finding or creating equivalent fractions, what we could do is we could just cross multiply. Okay, so let me just make a copy of this. Actually, I'm just gonna copy that and just cut it. All right. Well, what we could do is we could just cross multiply. If we cross multiply, 3 times 5 is 15, greater than 4 times 4 is 16. Well, is that true? No, that's false. Question B, cross multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. Write the symbol. 7 times 1 is 7. Is that true? No, that's false. 2 times 19 is 8. Sorry, not 18. Is 38. 9 times 5, put a symbol, sorry. 9 times 5 is 45. Is that true? No, that's false. Cross multiply. Minus 5 times 4 is minus 20. Put a symbol. 6 times minus 3 is minus 18. Is that true? Yes, that's true. Cross multiply. Actually, we need to do this one first. Minus 9 times 8 is minus 72. Put the symbol. 7 times minus 10 is minus 70. Is that true? No, that's false. Alright. Last one. Can't do it yet. We need to convert it first. So this was the minus 13 over 5 is less than minus 14 over 9. Cross multiply. Minus 13 times 9 is minus 117. Put the symbol. 5 times minus 40 is minus 70. True? Yes, it is. Okay, so that's the easiest method in order to do this. Alright, so let's have a look at these questions here. Place the correct mathematical symbol, less than, equal than, or greater than, in between the following pairs of fractions to make true mathematical statements. So, I'll get you to pause the video, have a go with these yourselves, and then we can double check our answers. Have a go. Alright, so here are my answers. Question A, nice and simple. Because they both have the same denominator, very easy to compare. Just point the arrow at the smaller number, 2 is smaller than 4, so we're pointing to the left. For question B here, you'll notice that all I did was I cross-multiplied. The 1 times 5 is 5, so I wrote a 5 over there. 3 times 1 is 3, so I just point at the smaller number, 3 is less than 5. Question C, 2/3 and 3/5. Cross multiply again. 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 3 is 9. Point at the smaller one. Question D, we've got a mixed number. So we need to convert it to an improper fraction first by using the triangle method. 7 times 2 plus 3 over 7. 14 plus 3 is 17 over 7. Now we can see that they both have the same denominator, so that makes it nice and easy. 16 is smaller than 17, so point at the 16. Question E, negative 1/3 and negative 2/3. Remember on a number line, 0, minus 1/3 is over here, minus 2/3 is over here. It's actually less than, so we need to point at the minus 2/3. Question F, I cross multiplied. Minus 3 times 8 is minus 24. 4 times minus 5 is minus 20. Well, negative 24 is less than negative 20 because it lies to the left. So we point at the negative 24. And that's it. Alright, so let's have a look at part 2 of this lesson, which is ordering fractions in ascending or descending order. So, to refresh our memories, ascending means smallest to biggest. Descending means biggest to smallest. Okay, and so how do I remember that? D, we're going down. So we must start big in order for us to go down, so big to small. Remember, convert any mixed numerals into improper fractions first. Okay, really important. So let's have a look at this. Place the following fractions in ascending order. Oh, they don't have the same denominator. None of the denominators are common. So we need to create equivalent fractions. Now before I said we need to cross multiply, right? Cross multiplying helps when there's just 2 of them. But here, there are 3 fractions, not just 2 fractions. So what we need to do is we need to multiply that 4 by 5 and 3. So we're going to do the same thing here, 5 and 3. that gives us 4 times 5 is 20, times 3 is 60 in the denominator. 3 times 5 is 15, times 3 is 45. This 5 here, well, we need to times by 4 and 3. We need to times it by that one and this one. So we times it by 4 and 3. So we know it's going to be over 60, because 5 times 4 is 20, times 3 is 60. 4 times, well, let's do this. 4 times 3 is 12, times 4 is 48. And 2/3, this time we need to times the 3 by 4 and 5. Well, we know the denominator is going to be 60. Okay, 3 times 4 is 12, times 5 is 60. But the numerator, 2 times 4 is 8, times 5 is 40. So now we can arrange these fractions in ascending order from smallest to biggest. The smallest one is the 40, which in this case is 2/3. The next smallest is 45, which is in this case is 3/4. And the biggest one's 48, which in this case is 4/5. Okay? Now, like I said, with a shortcut method, really, you don't need a denominator at all, because we know that we are going to, they're all going to be the same. What we are actually comparing is the numerators. So we look at just the numerators, the 3. We need to multiply it by this one here and this one here, 5 and 3. The 4, we need to multiply by that one and that one. The 2, we need to multiply by that and that. So if we just do that, then we'll get 45, 48, and 40. That makes it nice and easy to compare. So, last question for this video. Place the following fractions in descending order. Again, remember, if it's a mixed numeral, you need to convert it to an improper fraction first. So pause the video and have a go with this. Okay, so the first thing I did was I converted all the improper fractions, so this one and this one, all the mixed numerals into improper fractions first. So 8/5 and 9/4. The rest are the same. So now that I've done that, really, I don't need to worry about the common denominator. All I'm thinking is about the numerator. What do I need to times this by? I need to times it by 4, 2, 4, and 5. So, if I get my calculator out, put it over here. 8 times 4 times 2 times 4 times 5 is 1,280. Let's just write that down. What about my 7? What do I need to times my 7 by? I actually need to times it by 5, 2, 4, and 5. All the other denominators. So I take my 7, times it by 5, 2, 4, and 5. Giving me 1,400. My 3, I need to times by all the other denominators, 5, 4, 4, and 5. $1,200. My 9, times it by all the other denominators, 5, 4, 2, and 5. $1,800. And my 11, multiply by all the other denominators, 5, 4, 2, and 4. $1,760. So now we can write these in descending order, from biggest to smallest. The biggest one is 1800, which is just 2 1/4. The next biggest is the 1760, which is 11/5. The next biggest is the 1400, which is 7/4. Next one is this 1280, which is 1 3/5. And the smallest one is the 1200, which is 3 1/2. Alright, so that's it for this video. So let's have a look at what we learned today. Okay, so we learned how to order positive and negative numbers by comparing fractions using symbols. And we also learned how to order fractions in ascending and descending order. So if you have any questions, please comment in the section below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. See you.